and welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, June 4th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show, talk about a couple of things regarding the Dallas Cowboys, as well as doing a recap of the receivers that got paid this offseason as well, and why CeeDee Lamb most likely is going to be the next wide receiver that's going to get paid, in my opinion, but we'll see. So we'll talk about that. Then in the second part of the show, I'll continue my schedule breakdowns. Today we will be doing the Atlanta Falcons, so I'll give you my early win-loss predictions for them. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about some comments made by Chris Harris on the Up and Adams show about Justin Herbert. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Then in the fourth part of the show, we will talk about Darren Waller, and he's most likely going to retire. So we'll talk about that, how that impacts the Giants. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about some comments made by C.J. Stroud. And what career would he rather have? Aaron Rodgers' career or Eli Manning's career? So we will get into that in the final part of the show, and I'll give you my thoughts on what he had to say. So, with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Dallas Cowboys, a couple of things regarding them, as well as a recap of the contracts that were signed this offseason. So I did want to bring up, first, before we got into the CeeDee Lamb stuff, the passing of Hall of Famer Larry Allen. He was an 11-time Pro Bowler. He was a 6-time first-team All-Pro, and that was from 1996 to 2001. And he was part of the All-Decades team for the 90s and the early 2000s. And like I said, he was elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2013, and he was, a big part of the Cowboys' success back in the 90s. He's a Super Bowl champion in 1996. He protected Troy Aikman's blind side. And he was a versatile player, played both guard and tackle. He also cleared lanes for, of course, Emmitt Smith running the football. And I know there were some comments made by Emmitt Smith on his passing, and he was devastated over the loss. Not good news to start off the show. My heart goes out to his family during this time. And he played for both the Cowboys and the 49ers in his career. It spanned for 14 seasons. So, again, like I said, not good news to start off the show, and he will be missed. The NFL community lost a good one. So, I just wanted to bring that to light because I know that was making headlines yesterday. So, now let's kind of transition. It's hard. I know I've brought up former players or coaches passing away before, but it's always hard to kind of transition to something else after just talking about that. But like I said, wanted to bring that up. But let's now talk about CeeDee Lamb and where things are at currently here in the offseason. So if you remember, back on April 23rd, Jerry Jones made some comments. He wanted to see more movement in the market before signing extensions for players like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Well, since then, now we're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb more so today. You had DeVonta Smith signing a deal, 3 years, $75 million. AmonRaSt.Brown signed a 4-year deal, $120 million. A.J.Brown signed a 3-year, $96 million extension, $51 million guaranteed. Nico Collins signed a 3-year, $72.75 million extension. Jalen Waddle signed a 3-year, $84.75 million extension, and Justin Jefferson most recently signed a 4-year, $140 million extension with $110 million guaranteed. And now with all that happening, now it's up to the Cowboys to sign CeeDee Lamb. And, Stephen Jones talked about the influence of Jefferson's deal on Lamb's negotiations. Jerry Jones has expressed confidence in understanding the future salary cap trends. Like I said, I think that CeeDee Lamb, his deal is most likely going to be done next. Out of, some of the other receivers that are looking for new deals, like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be the next guy to get his new deal. And now Jefferson's deal is done. And I think they wanted to get it done before Jefferson, but the Vikings kind of beat them to it. And CeeDee Lamb is going to command a big contract. Now, is he going to get the same amount as Justin Jefferson? Or is he going to get a little bit less? I think it's probably going to be around the same ballpark. And he is coming off of his best season. So he's going to have to, he deserves to get paid whatever he wants. Last year, he led the NFL in receptions. He ranked second in receiving yards. He had 1,749 receiving yards. And he had over 1,800 yards, or 1,800 scrimmage yards. He set the single-season franchise record for the Cowboys in catches and receiving yards. He had 12 receiving touchdowns, which was third in the NFL, and 14 scrimmage touchdowns, sixth in the NFL. So he had a monster year, and, the Cowboys are going to have to pay him. And he's going to get paid first out of the big three, with him, Dak, and Micah Parsons. Now, it's possible that Dak Prescott is not going to be on the team beyond 2024, and I think that is going to happen. I think he's going to end up leaving and going somewhere else. And it's interesting because the Cowboys have kind of been speaking positively about Trey Lance. So I know we talked about this briefly in our production meeting recently, but it could be Trey Lance, going forward if they bring him back. That could be the backup plan if Dak decides to leave. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. But right now it seems like they are prioritizing getting a deal done with CeeDee Lamb, and they'll see whether or not they can get a deal done with Dak Prescott. But, yeah, a lot of receivers have gotten paid this offseason, and every single one of them deserves a new contract. I mean, we saw what Nico Collins did last year. Jalen Waddle has been consistent, over 1,000 yards each of his first 3 seasons. And, of course, then you have the 2 wide receivers with the Eagles, A.J.Brown and DeVonta Smith. AmonRaSt.Brown has been unbelievable for the Lions. So all those, and, of course, Justin Jefferson. And despite playing in 10 games, he still finished with over 1,000 yards. But even before that, I mean, he's been arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. And CeeDee Lamb coming off of his season, yeah, he deserves to be the next one that gets paid. And then we'll see what happens after that, because you have Brandon Ayuk that needs a new deal. You got the 2 wide receivers on the Bengals that are looking for new deals. Now, Jamar Chase is probably going to get his down the line, but right now Brandon Ayuk wants a new deal and T. Higgins wants a new deal. And we'll see about them along with CeeDee Lamb on when they will get their new deals. But, yeah, only time will tell. But for CeeDee Lamb, it's a matter of, when, not if. And he's going to get it with the Cowboys. And then we'll see what happens when they turn to Dak. Is Dak going to be getting a new deal with the Cowboys, or is he going to be on his way out? But like I said, I think it's most likely he's going to get a new deal elsewhere. Because you're going to have a team that's going to want to pay him. Because, we'll see where, the quarterback... We'll see what it's like after this year, the quarterback cycle. I don't know how I wanted to word it, because there's always going to be a team that needs a quarterback, basically what I'm trying to say. So there's going to be a team that's, that's going to be willing to pay him what he wants, and we'll see whether or not that's the Cowboys. But they could elect to go in a different direction, and maybe they end up saying, you know what, we'll ride it out with Trey Lance and see what he's got. Because they did trade for him. So we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that's just no real updates with CeeDee Lamb. I just kind of wanted to give a recap on some things on the receivers that got contracts this offseason, as well as, some comments that were made earlier in the offseason from, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. Because they've been patient with this. But now, all these receivers are getting paid, so now I think it's time for them to step up and, give CeeDee Lamb that new deal. So we'll see how much he ends up getting. I'm expecting a new deal within, I don't want to say the coming days, I'll say the coming weeks. But who knows? Maybe he'll get paid tomorrow. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all things Cowboys. Let me know what you guys think about the stuff that we talked about. Any Larry Allen stuff that you might want to say, or just the wide receiver recap on the guys that got paid, as well as the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb, Dak. How do you see all that playing out? Like, CeeDee Lamb's going to get his new deal. Then it's all about, after that, well, what's going to happen with Dak. So we're going to take our first break of the show. Then when we come back, I'll continue my schedule breakdown. Today we're going to be doing the Atlanta Falcons. So that's what we will do when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.